Why did early Boston punk struggle without labels? Imagine a scene full of raw energy, loud guitars, and rebellious attitude, but no big record companies backing it up. That's what early Boston punk was like. Back in the 70s and early 80s, the scene was all about doing things your own way. But without record labels, it was a tough road for these bands to reach bigger audiences. Boston's music industry was small and not very interested in punk music at first. Unlike cities like New York or London, Boston didn't have many labels willing to sign punk bands or promote their music. This made it hard for bands to get noticed outside their local clubs. Venues like the Rat and the Channel were important spots for punk shows, but there weren't many places that focused on punk music. Without more venues or industry support, bands struggled to get wider exposure. The sound of early Boston punk was often gritty and unpolished, which record labels found hard to sell. Labels wanted more radio-friendly music, but punk's rebellious, rough style didn't fit that mold. Bands didn't want to water down their sound just to get signed, so they stayed underground and true to their style. The DIY ethic was a big part of early Boston punk. Bands organized their own shows and released their music independently. This approach was partly because labels weren't interested, but it also kept the scene independent and authentic. Boston was also somewhat isolated from bigger punk hubs like New York City or London. Without strong label backing, Boston bands mostly played locally and found it hard to break into national or international markets. Early Boston punk was also fragmented. Many bands experimented with different styles, and there wasn't a unified scene that could attract labels' attention. Despite this, bands like the Pixies later gained recognition, but in the beginning, most bands relied on grassroots promotion and local venues. This made the scene fiercely independent but limited its growth early on. So, the lack of record labels meant Boston punk bands had to rely on their own efforts to build a following. They used local shows, independent labels, and word of mouth to grow. This made the scene unique and authentic, but it also meant they faced many challenges in reaching a bigger audience. The struggle without labels became a defining part of Boston punk's identity, emphasizing staying true to their sound over chasing commercial success.